to support workers, to provide services and information to migrant workers. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. So I thank you very much for your attention, and I hand back over to Glenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Isabel, for the excellent overview of the report. We now have time for questions, interventions. Feel free to use the chat and put your remarks in the chat, but also to raise your hand and we can give you the floor to say a few words. So over to you. I can see a hand raised by Ben Richards. Please introduce yourself when you take the floor. Ben, I think we are giving you the floor. So hold on, there you are. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, the system was just reconnecting me as I spoke to her.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to comment on the great report again that the Global Deal has produced this time. As Isabel mentioned briefly in her presentation, we were pleased to contribute to the first chapter of the report, a couple of our examples, particularly around the growing importance and issue of AI and its impact on workers and the role of social dialogue in managing that impact. I think, you know, as the colleague from the OECD mentioned, and as many people have done, our experience has always been that whenever there have been technological transformations involving workers through social dialogue in those transformations is a way to improve the outcomes for workers, for the companies, for the society. And for us, that's no different when it comes to AI. But what we've found is that to enable trade unions and the workers that they represent to engage in effective social dialogue on the issues of AI and algorithmic management, they need the information, they need the knowledge and the skills to be able to do so effectively. And that's why, as UNI, we're the Private Services Global Union Federation with affiliates representing 20 million workers in 150 different countries. And we've been developing a database on AI collective agreements where we have around 148 from 32 different countries, again, to give an overview of where social dialogue and collective bargaining on AI has already taken place to support those trade unions and social partners in places where they want to begin and they want to develop that social dialogue response. And equally, we've been also doing that around algorithmic management as well. We published a report at the end of 2023 on the role of trade unions and the tools utilized by unions in responding to the challenges posed by algorithmic management. And I think it really comes down to that point that was made earlier, that what we want to see is these new technologies augmenting the experience of work and the experience of workers, are not simply automating roles and jobs and leading to increased inequalities and increased division in society. So, like I say, we're really pleased to be able to contribute to the work of the Global Deal and pleased to be able to contribute to this report. Social dialogue is absolutely central to the work that we do as trade unions. It comes from that foundation of freedom of association, of the right to collective bargaining, but that ability to have a dialogue on these fundamental challenges that are facing the world of work, we think is the only way that we're going to ensure an equitable future and a future in which the benefits can really reach the workers as well as the rest of society.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Ben. Thank you very much for your intervention. And I have Jean-Christophe Sivera from France. You can introduce yourself, Jean-Christophe. You're muted, Jean-Christophe.
Thank you, Glenda. Thank you, everybody. And very happy, as always, for this every 2-year presentation of your new flagship report, because what brings new idea is really the practices and the examples that can be shared, that the ones that you have been sharing today. I would like especially, of course, I don't need really to stress on the very interesting agreement that was presented by Isabel about the Olympic Games, but I think it's very innovative, and what we can expect is that during the next Olympic Games, this kind of agreement will be done. And I think it could be good that if the global deal unit is really ensuring the transfer of experience between the every 4 years Olympic organization committees, so that the new organization committee in the next country will bring this experience on board. On France, I'd like to mention a couple of things that could be interesting because frankly, you've been talking about informality, but the question of informality exists also in the modern country or supposedly modern country. I'm talking about the platform business and the collective bargaining that has been organized in France about collective bargaining from the platform workers, Deliveroo, Uber, and so on, to set up minimum wage and really working on the margin, the percentage margin. So even there, we have non-salary workers people. They are independent, but we have their collective bargaining. So that's very interesting. And last example I like to mention in the fact that in the global framework agreement, which are signed by global companies, members of the global deal, we have a tendency to have a mention about the global deal in the agreement itself. I'd like to stress the example of the recently signed Uni Global Agreement with BNP Paribas. Ben knows very well this agreement. And in the preamble of the agreement, there is the agreement refers also to the global deal. And there has been a negotiation, a very recent negotiation with EDF. There we have a negotiation between Electricity of France, a large public supplier of electricity, and they have decided also to, with Industrial Global Union and PSI, to introduce a reference to the global deal inside the Global Framework Agreement, which is very, I think, significant of the influence of the global deal in the large multinational company, which are partners of this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean-Christophe, and thanks for bringing to our attention these additional examples. Of course, we cannot have them all in the flagship report. There are many more. What we are able to present is only a selection, but as Jean-Christophe said, we hope that these and additional examples that we have been able to highlight in other contexts will be a source of peer learning for our partners so that we can share good experiences, good ideas for other countries to look at. And I see that Charles-Louis Molgo has also raised his hand. Charles-Louis, you want to say a few words?
Yes, thank you very much for the quality of the report. And this case study of the Olympic Games is very interesting because it's not typical. It's not a classical social dialogue. It's an innovative approach, and this method does not imply that all problems disappeared, but that there is a place to solve and to discuss the problem. For example, on working time, on the use of contract jobs, and it grants controlled exemptions, and it helps to adapt the circumstances. So this charter is a good example for future Olympic Games of 2030 Winter Games in France, but hopefully for future major events with a social dialogue approach.
Thank you, Charles-Louis, absolutely. And I think many of the partners connected today will remember the webinar that we had to present specifically this example of the charte sociale in France. It was a very interesting webinar, and I think the collective value of the initiative was very, very clear. It was really very nice to see the engagement from both sides, how they really worked together and how happy they were about what had been achieved, and rightly so, because the achievements were very concrete. So it was a great event there. I am picking up some questions from the chat. chat. There are many. I think there are questions about a few questions about, what can we do concretely to strengthen social dialogue. And I think here there was a point made about Nigeria, and there was a more general point about this is what social dialogue can achieve, but how can we strengthen it? And I think it's important to remind you that we have been working very closely with partners and in some countries building capacity for strengthening social dialogue. So last year we worked with Nigeria, Kenya, and Sri Lanka, and we are starting a new project also funded by the European Commission, like the first one with Guatemala, Peru, and India. Along the same lines, providing capacity building and strengthening social dialogue in these countries. And then we have the other initiatives, so the various training courses that we have developed over time. I think that's our part, the role of the Global Deal as a platform to build a capacity to strengthen social dialogue in the various countries. And I see Maxime from SGI Europe also wanted to take the floor. Maxime, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Glenda. First of all, thank you to you and your team for the work done throughout the years to support the activities of the Global Deal, and that led up to this flagship report. It's really, really invaluable. The work that we've done throughout the years was really, really crucial for us and very important for us at SGI Europe, because it allowed us to learn from others, of course, but it also was a great opportunity to present a good practice example that Isabel mentioned in our presentation, the EU Social Partners Agreement on digitalization that we concluded in 2020 with our colleagues from the European Trade Union Confederations, Business Europe, and SME United, and include a dedicated chapter on AI. We believe that this agreement is crucial because it represents the shared commitment of the EU social partners at cross-sectoral levels and our members across Europe to ensure that the digitalization and the integration of AI in the world of work benefit both workers and employers and guarantee the human in control principle. Now our members are currently implementing the agreement across Europe, across the 27 member states, and we believe that the approach that the agreement aims to foster should lead to a mutually beneficial deployment of new technologies and AI in the workplace while minimizing the risk. Now we also look forward to diving fully into the report that was just published today, disseminating further and continuing the reflection on how to make sure that AI and new technologies are mutually beneficial for both sides of the work relationship. Thank you very much for the work.
Thank you, Maxime. Very glad to hear that you found this useful. There were a few more questions. I think some were very specific, like is there any good practices on human rights due diligence? Well, of course, we can't cover every topic every time. So I think human rights due diligence played quite a big role. There were various examples in the previous flagship. So this time we've tended to cover other topics, but let me remind you that even on that we had a note, actually a tool on human rights due diligence last year. So if you find it easily on the website, it is there, but otherwise feel free to contact us and we can point you to it. I think there were suggestions also for new work. For example, I think new members from Kenya were asking whether we've done work that is relevant to digital economy workers. So I think there are already some pieces of work that are relevant, but certainly this is an area where we would like to do more in the coming months. There was also a question about where can we find more information about the project that's coming up with Peru, Guatemala, and India. So we'll soon put up a description of the project. We did that at the start of the project last year with Nigeria, Kenya, and Sri Lanka. So we'll do the same, both an overall overview of the project and then also notes that are specific to the plans for the individual countries. So it's not there yet, but keep an eye on the Global Deal webpage, and you'll soon find more information about it. But also, feel free to get in touch with us, Kelly, and we can discuss this in more detail. I think the other questions have been dealt with. Somebody was very keen that you do another flagship next year, but in fact it's in 2 years. Give us a little bit of time in between. So it's not in 25, but 2026. But you are right, it's never too soon to start thinking of topics. So we'll do some thinking. And if you have obviously ideas for that flagship, let us know. As you know, we always have meetings of the contact points of the partners. So in the context of that meeting, we did it for this flagship. We'll do it again soon. Ask you what you may want to cover, what you think is a priority in your own country, institution, union, company, etc. I see still one hand raised, so let's conclude with this one by Luis Miguel Monge. Just a second to give Luis Miguel the opportunity to speak. There you go, Luis Miguel, the floor is yours. You are muted if you are already speaking. We can't hear you.
So many. Yeah, you can hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm Luis Monge from Public Services International. I just wanted to say thank you for the excellent report. And now that you mentioned about the future, start thinking about new topics. I think regarding artificial intelligence, it's very important to start as soon as possible the discussion about the challenges for social dialogue that are many, and in the way that these new technologies are evolving so rapidly, 2 years can be too late. So it's really important to start the discussions as soon as possible beyond the flagship report. I just wanted to know that because it's so fast.
Yeah, absolutely, Luis Miguel. Of course, the flagship report is going to be in 2 years, but there's many other things that we are doing in between. So already for AI, even before the flagship report, we had a focus group and a note that was issued as a result of the focus group. So we can certainly continue that work on a different facet of the issue, or as you say, things evolve very fast. So to the extent that we feel, things have evolved so fast that we want to rediscuss issues that we've covered, of course we can do that, but definitely there's a lot more than just a flagship report. So on some of the issues, including AI, we can move ahead and organize other ways to share experiences and other ways to bring together what we already know in this area. I think the rest is a lot of thank you from everybody. So thank you so much for participating. Again, thanks a lot for helping us put together the flagship with your good practices, with the exchanges we had with you. And thank you so much for connecting today and for the nice interventions today. Thank you very much.